Me people in my salon. I want to listen to me carefully. We need somebody who will bring a better change at this country salon. Somebody who will stand as the next president for the year 2017. And nobody no competent like Kande, Kule, Kela. It's all waiting, it takes for push we can't go before. But good and don't come and go, but then still every palabo. God also we had desire for Kampuri all Pampo. Papa dogs all can they say, come along and join this freedom train.
We are on the Atlantic. We also have a lot of inland rivers and waterways that are also full of aquatic life. Unfortunately, for almost a 20-year period, fish products from Sierra Leone have not been allowed to enter certain markets because we've not been able to meet various food safety and standards required by those markets. The sad news is our fish, our marine waters are being ravaged by foreign vessels every day, poaching in our waters, taking the fish away and overfishing. With the support of the Russian government, the Sierra Leone government has decided through UNIDO to rebuild what used to exist here up to 20 years ago, a fisheries and marine trading school. This institution will build capacity on various aspects of fisheries management, particularly industrial fisheries management. It has been welcomed by the government. The president has indicated his interest to do the groundbreaking ceremony. The government is very pleased that, in fact, the first training school was built by the Russian government. So this is rebuilding what existed before, but with the war it was destroyed. In fact, if you go back 40 years, Sierra Leone used to be the hub for aquatic and marine resources management training for a number of British colonies in this West Africa. So basically, we're investing in institution building, but also in agribusiness management, because for a while we have considered fisheries as part of our agribusiness development strategy in this country. Also, about 40% of our population depends on this marine life for their main protein source. So you can see the health dimension of this institution. So we'll be doing a number of courses on industrial fisheries management, on marine systems and ecosystems management, food safety certification and accreditation practices, and hygiene, basic hygiene in handling. So again, UNIDO as an implementing agency, we hope our partnership with the Russian government will in fact catalyze Sierra Leone's reemergence into the trade. We have some of the best lobsters and shrimp in the world. We know it because we know the ships that are poaching in our waters are from various markets. However, more importantly, what is our concern is sustainability. A number of these illegal ships are reducing the replenishment rates in these marine waters, and we know what has happened in Somalia already. Former fishermen are becoming pirates. We in Sierra Leone, we want to manage our marine resources because they are renewable, and this institution, training institution, will be right in the middle of that strategy to create wealth and create opportunities for our people in this country to also meet their protein demands. Kela, I'm Special Representative of the Secretary General for Sustainable Energy for All. I'm very pleased to join this campaign launched by the UN Foundation for the Ebola Response Fund. Coming from Sierra Leone, I feel the pain of my people there who are dying from the outbreak of Ebola. Yes, every week I have to call my mother and my other siblings there to check how they're doing. I listen to their stories about how worried they are to go to the market because they don't know who they will touch. But I also hear the stories of those who do not have food, of those who have been infected and there's no treatment. This fund launched by the UN Foundation will benefit people from Sierra Leone, from Liberia and Guinea. It will support the UN's effort to deal with Ebola. Ebola is a serious outbreak. It can become a global catastrophe, but it doesn't have to do that. If we have solidarity, we can defeat Ebola, and in fact, we can hopefully find a cure for it. This is now, the Secretary General has described it as a complex emergency. In fact, he also said that we should do everything we can now to prevent it from becoming a global phenomenon. Supporting this fund is enlightened self-interest. You're helping to protect yourself, protect the global community, but also as an immediate step, helping the people of Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea.
Keller, United Nations Under-Secretary General. Dr. Yum Keller, thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening. John Kerry today has made an urgent plea for more assistance. Has the world been too slow to wake up to the threat of Ebola?
Of course, the world has been slow in waking up, but the good news is it did wake up. And between about 10 days ago and now, when the Secretary General hosted the summit at the General Assembly, we saw many countries responding, and of course, the UK also hosted a meeting here, a donors meeting, on the 2nd of October, which has also received overwhelming support. So the announcement today by the British Prime Minister is big news, and we need massive action, but we also need speed now to deliver on the ground. We need boots on the ground. We need disbursements to happen quicker and faster than they are happening right now.
What difference will the deployment by the UK of military personnel, of a medical ship and of helicopters make in Sierra Leone?
It will make a significant difference. You need that kind of military logistics to quickly put up the testing centers. You need that military logistics to help to establish the treatment centers. But in addition, the airlift capability gives confidence to many hundreds of volunteers that want to go to these countries, that indeed, if anything happens, that they could be lifted out quickly. So I think this is significant. This is an integrated response from the UK that really many of us had been looking forward to.
He is the UN Under-Secretary General Kande Yum Keller. Welcome to the program, sir. Now, we keep hearing that Ebola must be stopped at the source, but does anyone, the UN, the WHO, know how to do that?
Well, it is known how to do it. We have to intensify contact tracing. We have to intensify isolation and treatment, but at the same time, even greater awareness about what people should do and shouldn't do. But as David Nabarro has said, we need massive support. We need a surge in support in terms of deploying experts on the ground and also providing necessary facilities for isolation and treatment. We need a massive movement in that direction.
Now, so far, pledges of financial aid to fight Ebola have fallen short of what's needed. $1 billion is what the UN says it needs. Are you hopeful of getting that money, and what exactly will it be used for?
Well, I'm hopeful that it will happen. As you know, President Obama has raised the Ebola issue as a national security threat. His Excellency David Cameron also just a few days ago called his national security team together to also take a second look, and many nations are beginning to line up now. The Secretary General, President of the World Bank are all on top of this. Today in Washington, the President of the World Bank made a plea for this, that we needed more action. So I'm very confident that nations will respond. What will it be used for? It will be used for getting more volunteers into those countries. It will be used for setting up the isolation facilities. We need many of those in various parts of those three countries. In addition, to set up the air link. That air link is going to be crucial for people to volunteer, because then they have confidence that they could be taken out. But also some of those resources will be needed to encourage the pharmaceutical companies to develop a cure for this. It is important to emphasize that this is a clear and present danger to global biosecurity. That's the way they should be viewed now.
Now, we've heard the US, the UK to implement Ebola screening at airports and Eurostar train stations, among other things. But the Ebola virus can take a while to incubate, and these screening measures might actually miss cases, mightn't they, as we saw in the US with that Liberian man who died from Ebola. Is anyone considering banning travel completely from the worst affected West African countries?
I think that would be the worst thing to do. You don't ban travel in those countries. You put in surveillance systems. I think by banning travel to those countries or from those countries, you're really, in a way, penalizing them, and you will make a medical or health crisis become even a major economic, financial, and security problem. If you ban travel to or from those countries, you're really in a way trying to force their economies to shrink. I don't think that's what we did for SARS. That's not what we did for H1N1. There is technology to detect, and I think what the US and UK and others are doing to do screening when people are leaving and also screening when people are arriving in other destinations. That's the way to do it. I think banning will be totally uncalled for and it will be punitive.
Kande Yumkela, UN Under-Secretary General, former Sierra Leone Trade Minister, who joins us from Vienna. Dr. Yumkela, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you believe that Europe should be doing more?
Europe should be doing more. Many others should be doing more to deal with the long-term push factors that are driving people to take this miserable journey to cross the Mediterranean. So it's about the long-term solutions. I think the immediate term efforts for humanitarian assistance dealing with the smugglers are correct, but we should look at the long term.
And without a solution to the long-term problem, the quick fix search and rescue operations, perhaps destroying smugglers' boats, really avoids the main point, the crux of the whole issue.
That's what I believe. I mean, so far this year it's about 35,000 people that have tried to cross. But remember, if you take the African context, you have 1 billion people now. Another 1 billion will be added in 35 years. Those numbers of people trying to cross will be larger if you don't have better economic opportunities and possibilities in the south, in Africa. So I think beyond the Fortress Europe approach, we should be looking at a prosper thy neighbor approach, which means we push wealth creation in African countries. We push investments in energy access, in infrastructure that would open up these economies and create wealth to reduce the urge to move.
Because if that doesn't happen, it will get worse.
It will get worse. I think that people should watch the demographic pressures. And I say this because in 2011, we helped to organize the Conference of African Ministers of Industry in Algeria together with Vice President Tijani of the EU. These were the issues we discussed then. How do we have a new partnership between Africa and Europe that targets industrialization, economic transformation in African countries as a future source of market opportunities for Europe, but also creating wealth and jobs for the youth population? In 2012, we did another conference in Tunisia after the Arab Spring had started, focusing entirely on youth unemployment.
Tonight, after chaos at the conference hall in Copenhagen, will world leaders reach an 11th hour climate deal? And how long before global warming turns into a major security threat? A lot for the world leaders to tie up on the last day. And joining us now from Copenhagen, Dr. Kande Yumkela, Director General of the UN Industrial Development Organization, which focuses on globalization, poverty and the environment. Also, Tim Flannery, who is also a leading climate change activist and a zoologist. He's also there and we'll be talking to him. Dr. Yumkela, welcome. Thank you for being there. Can you tell me, do you share the pessimism about a deal being finally broached on the last day?
I'm very optimistic that there will be a deal. Compared to yesterday, what we have now since this afternoon is that the negotiators have hunkered down. They're actually in drafting committees. They're negotiating hard. Ministers have taken charge of the negotiations. But in addition, all the key actors we need, the heads of states are here. They're going to have dinner this evening, and they're going to start their meeting already discussing tonight. Okay. So we remain very optimistic.
Okay, well, I mean, basically you've all been there for 2 weeks, and now everything seems to rest on the last day when the world leaders are here.
Hillary Clinton emphasizing that, in fact, there will be funds for long-term solutions, I think sends a very positive signal to the developing countries. Okay. This has been a sticking point, that the short-term funds are there, but not the long-term funds. So this was a major boost to the negotiations today.